Hi everyone, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I just wanted to say that it's also an honor to be speaking on the same stage as Dr. Satchel. Thank you. You've been such an inspiration. And I want to talk to you today about a little bit about my story and how I got started, but this is still really only the beginning of the story because I'm only 21. Yes. So for some of you who might not know, a lot of solar panels don't rotate. And this is silly because if you don't rotate a solar panel, it's not getting the optimal amount of sunlight at all times during the day. And so I first stumbled upon this fact when I was a lot younger, and over the years I developed a device called the SunSaluter, which I'll tell you about. And so the SunSaluter helps to rotate these solar panels so that they get optimal exposure to the sun, and this gives you up to 40% more electricity. And it does so using a gravity water clock, and that's how it also provides clean water. And so I started tinkering around with solar panels when I was a kid. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but I built this solar car, and my mom took me to the bookstore one day, and I begged her. I had to have this solar car book kit for $31.99. And after a lot of convincing, she bought me this kit. I brought it home. I tried to charge the solar, the battery of the solar car, and I got really frustrated that it didn't work. So I realized, and I started thinking of different ways that I could make the solar panel charge more, because I looked on the back and it was like, well, it's supposed to give me, 2 watts. Why am I only getting like 1 point something? That's weird. So I decided I wanted to look into it. And so after a while, I realized that you have to rotate solar panels. And I started going to Home Depot with my dad, and I put together this prototype after a number of years. And the first prototype was, really kind of makeshift. And the design didn't work that well, but I showcased it at a science fair. And I remember someone telling me, oh, why don't you try and think about using this in developing countries? And a light bulb went off in my head because that had never occurred to me before. And so I started doing a little bit more research, and I realized that, yeah, there's actually really something not designed for developing countries. I don't even understand what that means. How can we expect someone else to, especially if they've never even had a formal education either? And so I got a grant after applying to like 60 different grants. I Googled like solar youth innovation grants, and I applied to like 60 things, and I only got 1 grant, and it ended up being from Princeton to start. And I guess it was because I was young, I had no experience, and I wasn't part of a formal organization. And it was hard for people to want to take a chance on me. But Princeton gave me this grant, and I actually went out and I deployed the first SunSaluter. And so Kenya is right on the equator, right? So it's really good. You get a lot of good solid data, and the weather is pretty consistent. So it helped me to really understand, how solar is actually used in the developing world. And I, for the first time that I was off the continent, actually understood now why solar was so important. And so I deployed this project in collaboration with a lot of villagers in a place called Impala, Kenya. And I guess part of me not understanding what it was like out there, I just sort of expected that they would be grateful and excited. No. If your design sucks, people will tell you, right? So I had a lot of people who were like, it's really nice, you want to help us, but I don't understand how this works, and it looks stupid. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, I should probably fix that then. But this experience really inspired me to actually try and understand what they need out there, that it's not just about me implementing this idea that I have. I should actually try and understand what the users need, and I should try to explain the increased 40% electricity to them in a way that makes sense to them. And so I started thinking, if one of the complaints is that there's not, the materials that I'm using for the solar tracker are too complicated and they're not locally found, what if there's a way that I can use existing resources that are found every day in order to design this tracker? And so I, kind of looked around in some of these huts, and I saw that they carry these jerry cans full of water, and they refill them at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and they take them back to their homes, and then they just kind of sit there until someone needs some water. So I thought, oh, what if there's a way that I can actually use this water in the design of the solar tracker? That way it's something that they really intuitively understand, and you can pretty much guarantee that there's always going to be water there. And so a lot of these places lack both electricity and clean water, so I started to think that maybe I was onto something here. At current, there's over 3 million solar panels that have been deployed in the developing world. And I thought, if there's a way that I can piggyback on top of these systems or retrofit existing solar panels with SunSaluters, then if all of them are generating 40% more electricity, that could be a big deal for a lot of these people that are living there. And as the number of solar panels continues to grow, in 7 years, there could be 30 million deployments of SunSaluters or solar panels. And at the same time, I also noticed that there are a lot of these, in a lot of these communities, people are finding it difficult to understand why it's important to have clean water. If you drank clean water today after drinking dirty water your whole life, you're not really going to see changes tomorrow. And so it's really hard to explain to them that this benefit is for you in the long term. And so I thought, what if there's a way that I can combine all of these problems together? The fact that people aren't getting enough electricity from their existing solar panels, and the fact that people aren't really getting clean water or understanding clean water, and what if I incorporate that into the same device? So how the SunSaluter works is you collect 4 liters of water using these pop bottles, which you can pretty much find anywhere, so they're very easily replaceable. You attach the SunSaluter to one side of the solar panel, and you have a counterweight on the other side. So like a swing, the SunSaluter can freely rotate, and you're just kind of controlling that rotation with weights. And so you adjust the water flow using a simple mechanism by adjusting the height of the system, which will change the fluid flow. And what you want to do is, over a couple days of trial and error, adjust the flow rate so that it's the same rate at which the sun moves across the sky, so you get that movement that's matching. And then the water will flow into a receiving container, and ideally there will also be a filter there, so it's almost like the filtration just kind of happens very naturally. And the SunSaluter will allow the solar panel to follow the sun throughout the entire day, and you can, at any time during the day, collect the filtered water for use. And so at the end of the day, you get 40% more electricity, which for a lot of these people means either you can charge your phones, your number of existing phones, 40% more quickly, which makes your life more efficient, or you can charge more phones for more people. So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to sell more electricity, now you have more to work with. And then at the end of the day, you also get 4 liters of clean water. And so, the reception when we deployed this technology the second time around was really different. Well, at this point, I'd also formed a formal team, and we went together. And I think that also changed the perception as well. Before, it was just, one small Asian girl doing it by herself. Now it's, a group of people doing it together. And the reception was really different. People looked at it instantly, and they were like, oh, I understand how this works. It actually looks like I can get these parts myself. I could fix this. I could innovate upon it. And so the difference is now that it's not just something I made, because it doesn't matter if I made it. What matters is if other people actually use it. And so we had a chance to actually partner with a maternity clinic in KIRINDI, Uganda, and an actual partner with a nonprofit. And that was really exciting to be working with another organization for the first time. And so for a lot of these women, the midwives and the nurses, they could now charge their cell phones while they're working. And before, there weren't enough outlets, or there wasn't enough electricity to charge all the devices. But now there's slightly more, so everyone's getting what they need. And so, this entire process made me realize that I've done a lot of, really rewarding and interesting work here, but I'm still only 21 years old, and I don't really know what I want to do. And I've realized that that's okay. I've spent the past, 10, 11, 12 years of my life working on one project, and I'm still really passionate about this area, but I also want to keep learning, and I want to keep building upon my knowledge so that I can develop other cool things in the future. And I think one of the things that I've really struggled with a lot is the sense of identity that I have. I'm the SunSaluter girl. I'm the solar girl. Therefore, that must mean I must do this forever. And for me, that just didn't sit very well. So I took a little bit of time, and that's part of the reason why I'm back in school, is I want to become a better mechanical engineer so I can continue to invent other cool things. And I decided I would learn to code this summer, actually. And so in the dining halls at Princeton, there's like 6 dining halls, and sometimes, you know, if you're vegetarian or you eat a gluten-free diet, it's really hard to pick which dining hall, right? So I learned to code, and I built this dining hall picker, and all of a sudden, it seems like a really simple application, but I didn't know how to code before. All I knew how to do was build things using tools and devices at Home Depot. I didn't know that all of a sudden, I could actually use software and I could code just like anyone else here in the Bay Area or around the world. And all of a sudden, I felt like I could speak another language, which means I can build other cool things in the future as well. I'm also a coxswain for a rowing team, as Heather mentioned, and that also made me realize that it's okay to be interested in other things. You don't have to put yourself in just one box. I can, you know, being a coxswain inspires me to think about other ideas, other ways that I can use technologies, and other ways that, you know, teams come together besides in a business context. And I've realized that at 21 years old, I don't really actually know that much about teams, so this is a really good learning experience for me. And we actually won our first regatta, and that was the first time I ever got dunked in the water. But that's actually a tradition. And it's these kinds of experiences that I've realized that make me more creative, and it's actually okay. And so one really important lesson that I've learned is that, you know, it starts with me. I can't put myself in a box. I can build so many different things, and the SunSaluter is still going well. We've actually just deployed 35 units in 6 different countries, and we're hoping to implement on a large scale 1,000 units in India next year. But I can still do other things, and I think we can't keep ourselves in this box. So if that's one lesson that I can share with you today, it's that you should be open-minded to different things and just follow your gut. Maybe there's other things, and it's okay to have, you know, 8 different passions sometimes. Thank you.